Adding about a teaspoon of salt helps keep the eggs from cracking and helps them to peel easier. To make easy deviled eggs, put your egg yolks in a plastic bag. Then in your plastic bag, you're going to add your mustard, your salt, and your mayonnaise. And if you want to add an extra bit of flavor, put a little bit of bacon grease in with your deviled eggs. Close the bag and smash your egg yolks in with your mayonnaise, mustard, and bacon grease. Then snip a tiny hole off your bag and smush all that yummy goodness down into the corner of your bag and start filling.
Just using a little bit of bacon grease. I prefer bacon grease because it adds really good flavor. After I cook my bacon, I cool it, pour it in a container, and store it in the refrigerator.
So I got this big box of 40 pounds of chicken for $69, which is about $1.70, $1.60, $1.70 a pound. So for us here, that's a really good deal. So for me, it's worth having to repackage this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is holy macaroni, that's a lot of chicken. So these are huge pieces that aren't cut. So what I'm going to do is cut these up into tenderloins because that's the size we use the most. And then I already have that pre-done for my dinners. Now this is going to take me, I don't know, I'm going to time myself and see how long this actually takes. And then I will let you know for sure. But it doesn't really take me that long to do. Then I'm going to put them in bags, close the bags, and then what I do is I run a rag with bleach water around each bag because I'm not going to wash my hands in between bagging each piece of chicken. Okay, that took me 15 minutes to get 40 dinners worth of chicken cut up. Now it's going to take me 5 minutes to bleach my sink and clean up my mess. Guys, please, I am begging you, stop using vinegar to clean up bacteria-infested messes. Vinegar does not disinfect. It does not disinfect. Stop listening to the internet. It's a lie. Go look at your health department website. It does not work. Bleach instead. Use bleach to clean up your bacteria messes. Everybody asks how I use the butter flavor extract. So I got this, I think, for $10. It'll last me, oh my goodness, a couple of years. So normally what I do is I don't really measure. I just pour, of course this is a little hard recording, but I just pour a little bit in the cap, probably half a teaspoon, quarter to a half a teaspoon. Put it in my shortening, and that's all I do. Then it just goes straight in there. Then if you want more butter flavor, just add a little bit more, but usually I do about a quarter to a half a teaspoon. These measurements are on the side of the butter here. A half a stick is a quarter cup. I'm just going to lop off a quarter.
I keep my celery in foil. It stays fresh a lot longer.
Okay, homemade French bread, Texas toast, garlic toast, whatever you want. Now this is the regular Walmart bread, $1.32 for 21 slices. Now, this was left over, so this one can be made into garlic bread. The boys don't like the heels, but Mike and I do. Well, I don't anymore, but Mike does. Okay, and then you just sprinkle it on just like so. Okay, then you can just take a regular piece of bread, do the same thing. Now, this is how Mom did it. This is how the tightwad way of doing it. Okay, and same thing. Then if you have a smushed one, you can do that too. Now, I got this for $1.47, but I can usually find it for 75 cents. But, of course, today when I need to find it on clearance, I didn't. But what you can do is just cut this in half. Make it super easy. Just like that. And then we're going to spread the butter all over it. Now, what you can do is, if you don't have French bread, and let's say you have leftover hamburger buns, right here. Now, it's the same price. It's the same amount of ounces, so it's the same price. But you can also do leftover hamburger buns if you don't have any French bread, and it will be a thicker toast. Okay, I ran out of my softened butter. I'll have to go get my softened butter. Okay, I'm gonna finish these up, pop them in the oven. Now, if you want, you can fold this in half and wrap it in foil and put the oven. I like to broil it because we like it toasty on top. Now, this is a pretty simple recipe, but if you need it, it's on page 88. Underneath our French bread is the garlic bread in our Dining on a Dime cookbook, volume 1. I'm gonna pop these in the oven and show you what they look like. I do half cheese bread and half garlic bread on this. Jack is getting ready to come home for lunch, so that'll be a nice little treat for him. And then I put them spaced some further apart because these will go directly under the broiler that way. My oven is on broil right there. See, you can see the broiler. So I'm just gonna put it under there and just watch it for just a few minutes. Like, I don't know, 3 to 4 minutes is usually all it takes. Might move this one over under the broiler a little bit better there. Okay, now we're under. All right, here is the French bread and here is the garlic bread, and it's made 3 different ways: leftovers, fresh, burger bun, and French bread. So by this way, you will save about $1 to $2 depending on if you get your French bread for cheaper or if you use this, or if you use regular bread. I got this chicken for $4.61 on clearance. Don't be afraid to buy your meat on clearance. That's just the day that the store has to sell it by. It's not the day that it has to be used by. I buy them on clearance and then I put them in the freezer and pull them out when I need them. Our Dining on a Dime cookbook is on sale right now. You can get tips that will help you save money on your grocery bill, recipes that your family will love to eat. Click the link in the description below to get this sale today. Take a little bit of water, tap the top. I don't see people give this tip very much, but if you put a little bit of water on the top and then sprinkle it with cinnamon and sugar, it will hold the cinnamon and sugar on there better and won't fall off quite as much.
Which I have separated in Tupperware according to like Chinese, Taco Bell, Arby's.
I crack my eggs on the edge of the counter because it usually prevents you from getting shells in there quite as much as compared to doing it on the edge of a bowl.
Just eat 2 croutons by themselves, wouldn't you?
Yep.
Because they're so delicious.
They're good.
Dining on a Dime cookbook, volume 1. I have no idea why I just put it in the bowl, because normally I don't do that. Normally I just put it on the pan. Make sure they're crouton-sized pieces, like so. Okay, and take your oil. Just sprinkle your oil all over. Then your garlic.
That is a lot of garlic.
That's why you guys like it.
Probably.
Then your parsley. And then I'm doing some big salt because I'm trying to get rid of the salt. There. And seasoned salt from our Dining on a Dime cookbook. And then just get it all mixed together. it in the oven. With no rack. Oops. Details, details. And then we're gonna put it in the oven. Okay, Jack, give us your 2 cents of what you think it tastes like. Ooh, is it too hot?
They're hot.
Still too hot.
Yeah.
Hold on. Delicious as usual. Jack's
Yep.
favorite croutons. Yummarummo.
Already had 4 of them.
Is an apple pie. Now blueberry and cherry you don't have to worry about, but for apple pie the apples are kind of large, so I cut them up in the can with a knife first, just like so. You do not need to wash your chicken before you cook it. All that does is splat chicken germs all over your kitchen, and no self-respecting germ would live to the proper cooking temperature, so you don't need to worry about it. So I used my Easter candy, 50 cents, after Easter, to make my dipping chocolate. Just added a little bit of coconut oil, and it's melting in the dipper. So that's what I'm using for my caramel apple bar. If you're worried about your chicken being done, just put a meat thermometer in it. It needs to be 165 degrees or more. You don't need a meat thermometer though to check and see if it's done. All you have to do is put in a fork and see how easily that just falls apart. Then you know your chicken is done, safe to eat. I don't know if you can see it here. It might come on this other side so they can see it better. Okay, so can you see the different layers here? When you see the layer separation, that is the yeast activating and foaming on the top there. So this is the yeast foaming and this is the water here. So you want to be looking for that. You know your yeast is working. You do not have to buy buttermilk. If you have a half a cup of buttermilk, which this is 1 cup, so I only need half of this. Dining on a Dime, volume 1, right here, page 389, the recipe for buttermilk. I also have the link in the description below for how to make homemade buttermilk. You just need to take regular milk. Now this is full fat regular milk, okay? It was in the freezer, I just defrosted it, okay? I don't even dirty a bowl to do this. Then take your whole fat milk, your buttermilk, okay, just half of that. Then just stir it around like so. Let it sit on the counter. I love these plastic canning jar lids. I put a link in the description below. Let it sit for 24 hours and it will turn into buttermilk. By making your own homemade, it is $1, well, not even $1, about 50 to 75 cents, depending on how much your milk is. Compared to, for this same amount, is $2.50 to $3 at the store. And that's all you have to do.
Did you have to shake that before you put it in?
You don't have to shake it, but I do shake it. I don't know why. I think it's just habit. But look at cultured buttermilk. Do you know what that means? This means they did not actually churn the whipping cream to make buttermilk. What they did was, this is the same as making yogurt. The yogurt cultures, which is bacteria, which is in here, is what creates the acidicness of the buttermilk. And so all you're doing is culturing your own instead of having someone do it for you.
So the process you use is the same process they use?
Same exact process. This is all they do. They just put it in a warm place and make buttermilk. Yeah, out of regular milk. Okay, so this is 24 hours later. You can see it is nice and thick. Now, sometimes it does separate. Don't freak out. Just stir it up. This is basically the beginnings of yogurt is what it is. But now you've got your buttermilk. Just store this in the fridge. Save a half a cup. So like when you're jar gets down to about here, yes, that's white paint. When your jar gets down to about here, just add your milk to the jar, unless you want a fresh jar and clean a jar, but add this much milk, this much buttermilk, set it out for another 24 hours, and you're good to go. I don't know if you can see it here. It might come on this other side so they can see it better. Okay, so can you see the different layers here? When you see the layer separation, that is the yeast activating and foaming on the top there. So this is the yeast foaming and this is the water here. So you want to be looking for that. You know your yeast is working. Okay, so you can see how nice and fluffy and frothy my yeast is right there. So if you'll notice, I use a bowl with a non-slip bottom on here so it doesn't slide all over my countertop. If you don't have a bowl like that, you can use a silicone mat, or you can use the shelf liner that is the grippy shelf liner. You can use either of those.
Here we have a leftover shelf, just about like everyone else. There's some Encore dinners in there, and that thing is full of leftovers, leftover soup, anything that's a leftover. I put it in there. And every so often, we just have a week where we eat everything out of the freezer.
All right, we're gonna start with melted butter, but here's a little tip, guys. I got these deli papers for free at a restaurant going out of business. And it was a yard sale for them. And I just put one on top of my butter or margarine, but you could also use just a little napkin. That keeps it from exploding all over your microwave. Now, I just keep these in a little zip top bag in the refrigerator. And then when I need one, I just pull it out or use the one that I used in the recipe. Okay, and get this all nice and smooth. So here's another tip. I reuse my parchment paper even if it's a little bit greasy. It's not a big deal. I just made some oatmeal cookies from our Dining on a Dime cookbook volume 1. And I'm gonna save this and reuse it again. I don't know, I get at least 3 or 4 uses out of each piece of parchment paper. I also use seal pats, which I love. Yes, it's looking really gnarly. I need to get some fresh. But love my seal pat also. This is a wash and reusable one, but I sometimes have to use the parchment for video reasons.